All right, we'll call this meeting to order. First thing is, review and approve January 9th, 2024 minutes.
Move they be accepted as written.
Second.
Any discussion? No, all in favor? Review and approve January 23rd, 2020.
Yeah.
2023.
Coming fast enough.
I move we approve the warrant
Second.
All in favor?
for 2024. You signed into my name, Jim.
Oh, did I? Oh,
Should we switch identities for the night, or you want?
One Jim
Yeah, I do the
sign.
same thing. And Appeals Board reappointment. Mr. Bishop is up for reappointment. I move that we reappoint him.
Did you talk to him?
No?
I was not able to get through to him today, though.
Does he wanna do it, so?
Well, if he does.
Well, if he wants to do it, I would second.
Okay. Okay. Community Central Rental Space. And we got an email from all the pumpkin pads wanting to, rent the other end of the building. I've already put my dibs in for the auxiliary, for the last, that end of the building.
Well, when we initially purchased the place, the idea was we were gonna rent out as much of it as we could. Try to make it help pay for itself. And I think that could be done. I don't know, what are you looking to use, the whole thing, or?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was thinking about Kathy, if Ben wanted to do the store thing, do that empty on the end.
Yep. Sounds like a good way to help out the community, but yes, it's gonna take some room. Shelving itself, minimize the amount needed.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's dividable for pumpkin patch uses. I don't know how much they need.
I think she's just trying to fill a spillover from, you know, obviously everybody needs daycare, but,
Right.
I mean, my personal thought is, and it has been since the get-go, is, you know, it's not a school anymore, so I don't think Baldwin needs a liability of kids getting hurt. You you know,
No.
just more kids running around, just.
But we
just-
do, the community does need space for those guys,
Yeah.
so I do understand. And if Pumpkin Patch is willing to oversee it, then are they gonna want the amount of space that the Action Kids had taken?
Well, as you said, we don't know, it was just
Yeah,
a,
okay,
generic email she sent out, just inquiring about the kind of space.
Politically, it looks bad for you guys to kick one person out.
but it is serving kids, so,
We didn't, kick them out. We offered them to take the program over on a commercial basis. Our concern was with liability, with the way the program was being managed. Liability for, safety and, control of children and whatnot. in
always a
spaces.
concern, but yeah, you need space for kids, and
Yeah,
it's
and
something
so
that the town can offer.
we offered the, Megan to do that, and she didn't want to.
So in other words, she would have assumed
The liability.
responsibility of the program, the liability of it,
Right.
payroll, the whole
But
bit.
being that it was such a reduced cost situation, they didn't have that kind of money. They couldn't financially do that. Pumpkin Patch maybe could. I don't know if they're looking to fill the hole. That would be a help for the community, because these kids otherwise, what are they gonna do? You know, if they don't have family, they're just gonna be having the key and home alone.
Yeah,
And that's not good. We know that's not good.
so I would say at least have them come in and talk to us.
If you need one room,
I don't know, whatever they need.
I agree with Dale, I think it's, they get hurt on premises, and the town's liable, no matter if they got insurance or not. It's our property, it's the town's property, and that's what scares me.
That is a good mix, I understand.
First thing they're gonna look for is deficiencies in the building and.
Next thing you know, they're calling Joe Bornstein, everybody's too happy nowadays. I certainly wouldn't want that.
So with the auxiliary store, like, would that be, like, what kind of hours would they have? I mean, how would they?
Not much, but we all volunteer, it's something we'd have to work. I haven't even brought it up to the rest of the committee yet, but, the auxiliary, but we was, at one time, we was, thinking about, we had the opportunity to get the East Baldwin Church, and, but that's just changed, so we've been looking other places, just happened to come up, I had an idea. Maybe a few hours on the weekends, and then, it'd just be easier to, we don't have to transport stuff.
Right.
You know, that's one thing that I really, really dreaded every year, is to transport all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, it took us 2 weeks to drag the stuff back up there, you know. Would also make room in our barn, then McKinney, you open the door and you walk in, you can't walk in, because there's so much stuff in there right now. And it gives back, whatever money we make goes back to the community.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you take 3 rooms, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, the email came quick after she heard about it, for sure.
Yeah.
So, we haven't really had time to digest the closing of it before, you know, we can commit to anything else, but.
So have them come in and talk?
Yeah, like, well, and we can maybe contact, MMA and see what the limits of our liability might be.
Yeah.
For a rented space.
And try the auxiliary, if we're not gonna be there that much, to use up much electricity, or, you know, just kinda hang around selling stuff. And we have our own insurance, too.
Yeah. Yep, we were talking about what the issues are today, how do we rent out the space and make it really pay for itself?
Right.
By estimating the heating load, and, we could probably meter the electricity. But the place is not really built for,
No, it's just,
you know, it's classrooms with a limited number of outlets on the wall. Like here, you know, you got one here and one there, and that's
Yeah.
about it. You can't do anything really heavy, but we can talk to them and see what they need.
yeah, I mean, in all reality though, you know, feeding off that, it's never gonna be a money-making business for the town to lease that space. So is it worth it to take on that responsibility rather than use it for what the town can use it for?
Depends on the terms, I guess.
Depends on the terms, yeah.
Well, I always felt like that, the Active Kids program was supposed to kind of help pay for the building, but somehow that didn't work out that way. Whatever they didn't spend came back to the building and paid for the light, but somehow that didn't work out that way.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't here when they set it up.
Yeah.
Will we table this for further discussion?
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe we can, have the lady, what was her name, Mrs. Bollier, come in and visit a, selectman meeting.
Yep.
See the next workshop.
Excuse me, the next workshop, is that gonna be, comprised mostly of, assessing, question and answer session? Would that be a good time for her to come in?
I think it was, yeah, I think you're right, I think it was supposed to be
Yeah, the setup, isn't it? Next week. Yeah, Rob Sullivan's coming next week. If I have it correctly. So see what you can do. Maybe the next one, the 13th.
February 13th?
Yeah. And in the meantime, I don't know if she's actually been in here and looked at the facilities. So she can come in and take a look and show her around. Change her mind.
All right, CEO position. So, Mr. Colby didn't work out. Guess he thought it was more than what he bargained for.
We have a few more names in the applicant pool. We can talk about it, I guess, this evening in the executive session. If we wanna choose one of those and go with one of those, or if we wanna open it up again for,
Right. Reminders, we have budget meeting tomorrow at 3:00. Sam Pond meeting tomorrow at 7:00. Planning board meeting on the 25th at 7:00. Anything, Joe?
I wanted to know if anybody'd heard from the Marciellos, or did they get shut down? No, nobody heard from them.
No.
I answered that.
Not directly. They were told by the end of this month they're supposed to apply for a demolition permit, because that was void illegally. And they're supposed to file a remediation plan for the damage they done in the shoreline district. And I had another conversation, it was yesterday, with David Lord, and there's been a further letter sent out to them. And where they have said that the Marciellos are going to be providing a meeting with their lawyer and the surveyor, either separately or together, by the end of this week, and he's gonna let David Laurie know and keep him in the loop. So that's where we are as of when I last spoke to him, which was yesterday morning.
Okay, thank you.
He calls me on my cell phone because he can always get a hold of it that way. Which is fine, and I don't mind, he can call me.
Is it your town cell phone or your personal cell phone?
My personal one, because otherwise, when he needs to reach me.
And,
Well, we're on that.
go ahead, Don, please.
While we're on that subject, without putting my foot in my mouth yet again, there are a number of issues that probably ought to be talked out before you go terribly far with getting somebody else that might be of help to you. For example, and this is not against anybody, but this fellow had a full-time business, came in Friday, and apparently it was said to him, and it's true, I was hoping you pretty much set your own hours. He took that to mean he could do the code work around his full-time job as a contractor and finish carpenter. And I said, well, that's true to a degree, but you have to have regular office hours. He was not aware of that. So it doesn't have to be Friday, 8 to 12 or whatever.
I think we did tell them that.
But it's got lost in the translation. It's two other things, and when Robin came in, the decision was made to call somebody, because I can't answer for the selectmen, and that's not my intent. But I will say with some of these things, this job description we ought to go over, because as we were discussing a while ago in the other room, somebody questioned me making copies at a planning board meeting, which I volunteered to, and there was some question about what my boundaries were that maybe got crossed with them. And I think we have a very good working relationship, as I said. And I don't believe that if there was an issue with Joe or anybody else in that board, they tell me. I know they would. And I think it would be good, and if you want some help or if you don't, I highlighted the areas that were relevant, if you have copies of it. You could do that now, or you could do it later, or whatever you want.
Yeah, we can do it later if you want.
It's spelled out pretty clearly. It doesn't say that I cannot make copies, but I think I could touch discretion. Run copies for me.
Yes, and I would like to clarify that a bit further here in this meeting. Joe, Don and I had this conversation, and as the conversation came about because he said that the code enforcement officer, it's required in our town ordinances that the code enforcement officer attend the planning board meeting. So I said, if that is the case, I'm not certain that it's in the ordinance. I'm not sure that Bob was certain that it's in the ordinance. But if it is, then we need to know, because when we talk to potential applicants, then they need to plan accordingly. If it's a requirement, they may have other commitments on a Thursday evening, a couple of Thursdays a month. So then Dawn said, well, if it's not a requirement, it should be. And if it's not, that it's a state law. So I said, okay, if you can provide me with the information, that would be terrific. And then he went on to mention that he was staff to the planning board. So I corrected that in saying that, because that was misconstrued apparently, because he is not staff to the planning board. So I clarified that, because we all help each other. You know, I make copies I help Dawn helps me, I help at times, the comprehensive plan people, we all need to work together. And, it is a team effort much of the time. But he said that it was his responsibility to, for instance, with the appeals process, the Marcielos, there was a packet of information that was, I don't know how deep, but different packets, whether it be for site visits, for CUPs. He felt that that was his responsibility to do that for the planning board, and I clarified and I said, it's not his responsibility to do that. If he wants to do that to help out, then that's a wonderful thing.
Just back up a minute.
Okay.
As far as the packet I have,
No, the packet, you said that you make copies of information, Don, for the planning board, before the planning board meetings of all of their packets, and that's your responsibility to do so.
no.
And, yes, and I said that that was not your responsibility.
Excuse me, just a
Okay.
minute, if I can speak for myself.
Okay,
When you have a commercial application, like, Long Beach Marina or the
Mhm.
proposal across the street, they're done professionally, they're about yay thick.
Mhm.
And if you read them, it will say listed on the Kent Code Enforcement Officer and members of the planning board.
Right.
It's supposed to be given to me for review first.
mhm,
Sometimes people come in that have a small business, they don't have a clue what they're doing. And
mhm,
when you read those forms, it looks like you gotta go under all kinds of hoops. And I explain to them what the requirements are and I help them.
mhm,
Sometimes they come in at the last minute with one copy, and I'll make copies so that the planning board has it.
mhm,
When people call me that are larger outfits, I say, if you can send a paper, that's great. If you can get me a digital copy, and they're doing that more and more. I send them over to Joe, and he sends them over to the people on the board, and that's how we do that. Sometimes we need copies,
mhm.
and that last meeting we did, and you said there was reason to believe that I shouldn't have done that, and I volunteered. And
No, I did not say that you should have done that.
You're saying
No.
things that I never said either, Robin, so
All right.
let's, you know, we
Yep.
can agree to disagree.
Okay,
I just want clarification that
okay.
All right, let's move on.
we
We
can.
said, she said that.
I don't desire to have a fight with anybody. I think it would be a good idea if we went over at least some of the basic things of what this job involves, because I don't think it's fair, and I'm not throwing rocks at you, Robin, I'm not, I'm really not. It's never would do that. But sometimes people just understand each other or whatever.
Mhm.
That's possibly it. But I think it's hard enough to do this job, and for somebody to come in, like happened Friday, who doesn't really have a good idea of what's going on, we need to have it clear that if I say he needs to go to planning board meetings, and somebody else says he doesn't, but it's, because how you read an ordinance, it'd be a good idea, to straighten that out ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because we're doing a whole lot better, and I think Joe would agree with this, with the planning board, and it's not me, he reached out to me when I first came here, and we worked very hard to come up with something that seems to work quite well. at least
So,
in
Don,
my opinion.
I put this together based on some, cookie cutter ones that were available, various kinds of stuff. And I don't see any markups on here, but if we wanna sit down and talk about the various portions of it that you think need to be updated, changed, I'd be glad to do that before we.
Right, well, we did that, and this copy was the one that was the complement
Yeah, right,
of
but I-
above, and I ran it by state people, and you ran it by other
Yeah,
people.
so is there anything else that?
We all agreed to this.
Okay.
But the thing is, when it says things like, for example, I'm responsible for conducting building, zoning, and land use inspections, that means when they have a site visit, I'm supposed to be there, the way I'm reading it.
Yeah, there is something in the land use ordinance that says, site review, you are supposed to go to.
Exactly, and the reason for that is because you get trained in that, and people ask questions related to land use and shoreline zoning and things like that. But there's a line in here too that says attend select board, planning board, and board of appeals meetings.
Yep.
Works in close cooperation with the planning board in reviewing land use applications and conditional use.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This is in your job description, though.
But I mean, so it's fair to say to somebody that they have to go by this.
Yeah, if you get hired, that's what you're expected to do, but
if you want further documentation, I can try to get it, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've done anything here that anybody in the planning board has any objection. That's all. I just don't know.
Okay, good. So we can review this again if you want it, Don, and,
Well,
if you have
I'm fine with
anything, if you have anything else that you wanna,
I would,
as where you have additional duties or responsibilities, we'll look at that.
I will just give you one other consideration, and again, I've mentioned it before, but the nature of this job is that you have to be able to communicate with people. And we need to work that out, because when I get messages from here, I can get them at my house, but when I call back, they say, aha, now I have a cell number, and you end up being on call 24/7. And I don't think anybody that works for this town wants to be in that situation. And if it's something we address now, it's a whole lot better than having someone else have to deal with it.
Okay.
And a number of other related things in terms of forms and things, which I can do. I'm just trying to be helpful. I don't wanna go to battle with anybody.
Yep.
Sometimes people misunderstand what I might say or anything I might say. I know that it's not specifically spelled out, but I've had a good relationship with the fire chief and the road commissioner. And we're making changes, for example, or starting to, with driveway permits. Because Chris has a right to know that they're in compliance. Chris is the one that can decide whether they need a culvert more than I do. And we're coming up with a better way to do that. And I'm working with Robin to initiate the 911 process sooner than later, because I had a friend get killed one time at a construction site because they didn't have the 911, not here in Boston. And that extra 15 minutes made a big difference. Didn't want to see that happen again. Some people could say I overstepped my bounds when I asked his opinion, because he should decide or I should decide. I don't care whose job it is. I'm concerned with doing the best I can to help people in this town. And I think you probably would agree with that. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, I've been a good working
pretty
relationship with
well.
you. Can I ask, who's setting the percentage?
It was mentioned to me on Friday, and I don't care to go into a big battle about it, because people have a different recollection. I'm not gonna go there. What I am concerned with, I don't like to have any feelings that are unfounded. And it seems like there was, especially when it came to copying paper. If you see it differently, that's fine, I'm not gonna go there. It does say in here, though, that all the work under the general supervision of the select board, but part of that is, it says, with considerable independent judgment and discretion, which gives me the right, if I see I need to do something, as long as it's not illegal, I believe I'm able to do that. And if you have an issue, all you gotta do is talk to me. And I generally think you'll find that I keep it pretty up to date on most everything I do. I certainly keep account of everything I do.
I don't think we've ever had a problem with the way you do your job. I mean, you're pretty, we don't wanna micromanage anybody. We don't with Chris, we don't, you know, you guys are professionals, you know your job, so if you know, it's a call on your part, and as long as we're kept informed of what's going on.
Right.
So, I mean.
Well, I copy things, I usually send them to you when I have reasons, things that you need to be involved in, and you make sure they get great. I mean, I've got pretty well that. I would suggest if you hire somebody, that before they just, because this was real short notice, and then the guy was here on Friday, and it was hard with people going through, it looked like we didn't know what we were doing. We were having a hard time. If I had a couple of hours with the person before they were there in a official capacity, I could go over basic requirements of paperwork and how you deposit checks for the clerk. I shouldn't say deposit. Turn them over, file them, and different requirements that they have. I think it would be beneficial. And as I said before, if I wasn't on call 24/7, and we could come up with a solution for that, which I think is relatively simple. Given you're in the budget season, and we got a whole bunch of issues you guys gotta work out, I don't mind if this gets put off for what, we just need to come up with a more effective way to do the job. That's all I've ever asked for. Okay? So, and if you got any questions, I'll try to answer them, but I've genuinely done the best I could in all of these things.
Joe, what else you have?
Well, I appreciate, Don's job and the job he's doing and the advice he's given to the planning board. It's been very useful to have him come to meetings.
Yeah,
And, it's nice to have a friendly relationship back and forth.
Yeah, oh yeah, it keeps the peace.
I try to support Don and you and the people you hire. Friday morning, I came in, it was probably 8:30, and I came in just to meet the new guy and say hello, and, you know, because I would like that the first day on the job, somebody coming in and being friendly and saying nice. And he sat in his chair, hunched over, and didn't join in, did not engage. And I was disappointed enough, so I left. I said, I'm wasting my time. And I was gone. But, so I don't want to get in trouble for going, but I was trying to be kind to both Don and the new guy.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though, is that, and it's hard to know in advance how people take things, but we did explain to him what the job was, and I think when he actually got down and started seeing that it required he's gonna have to spend some time studying to get certified. I think that's really what scared him off.
Yeah.
And,
He also thought that a lot of the job should involve a secretary and then all the paperwork, which I have to do and everybody has to do because of state rules and town rules and everything else.
Yeah.
If you wanted to give me a secretary and maybe a fancy car and a chauffeur and things around and stuff, it would go a long way.
Well, he could also be intimidated by, guy comes in and I know him and we're friends and, there's all this other, he's been around for a while, stuff going on, And I just wanted to say I'm trying to help in there and, you guys supportive of whoever you hire, and try to have a good relationship with the planning board. We depend on the code enforcement officer a great deal.
Right, right.
I don't, I'm just a volunteer. I don't get paid to study either. I do my best.
I don't think this was a bad person, and I'm not in any way saying you didn't do a good job in vetting him. All I'm saying, I'm sure you said exactly what you said to him. I'm not disputing that. Sometimes you might say something and I might say something different.
You're right.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that he was wrong or you were, you do the best you can. And that's why I would suggest that when you're to the point of hiring somebody, if you would like, if I spend a couple of hours with him at the office just doing basic stuff, because we could sort that out. I won't tell you how many people called me since Friday and came to my house, and it's been quite a thing. Word spread fast in a small town about what happened Friday, and some people thought that I was gone, and they didn't know how their jobs could get finished, and I tried to explain to people I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, and that you didn't replace me. You essentially appointed a deputy who was going to learn the job so we could do it gradually. That helped a lot.
Right, yeah.
I didn't have anything negative. It was all people expressing a lot of support.
Anything else, Joe?
Nope, thank you.
Kathy?
Thank you.
Mary?
No, I don't have anything. I'm glad to be here, though.
I'm glad you're here.
2 weeks have been kind of yucky snow.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate what you guys do.
Yep, no.
Lovely.
And I shot myself in the foot by bringing that job description, because it said I'm supposed to go to the select board meeting. And given I live a mile up the side of a mountain, if it's icy, I live alone, nobody knows if I get home or not. So when the weather's really bad, I don't come.
Right.
It's
I mean, yeah.
nothing intended bad. Any of you can call me 24/7, I don't mind.
No, yeah, at last meeting, we probably should have canceled it. We weren't in only, half an hour.
I might be in the snowbank off the hill there, with all the rest of the gravel that gets washed away.
Well, Kathy keeps me informed.
No, that's good, yeah.
She calls me and tells me what's happening.
Steve?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely got a couple
you got one
things.
left, yeah.
Always, you know, not, hopefully not a long one, but definitely a lot, you know, there's always a lot going on. So, I'd just like to say, I think, Kathy has a pretty good point with, you know, and I thought that was a good idea to take a look at what MMA provides us for liability for kids and having a community center. But I also think Dale is right. I think everybody's really got good information on this, is that it really kind of seems that this place has cost us a lot more money than it does ever make us. And I don't think Baldwin Active Kids is ever really, I mean, we have that with all our facilities. It's not just here, the fire departments are doing this, fire stations are doing the same thing. They cost us more money to keep than they do provide us, to help provide a service to the community.
Yeah.
So like, we need to make some changes, you know, as a group. You know, it's not anybody's single fault, but like, I don't know, time's pretty bright, you know? So, you know, it'd be a good idea to look into it. Sweden, what I was gonna say today is that Sweden actually, put out a bid today for a $1.6 million fire station, 50 by 100 square feet, taxpayer funded completely, no grant. And that was their bid, yep, and because everybody's in this, all these rural towns are in the same position, you know, so, you know, it's good to see it happening, you know, in places like Sebago. It's good, you know, Sebago has kind of met their own challenges, we've spoken about that before. Sweden is now, you know, essentially, for lack of a better saying, pulling the trigger to, you know, get their town to build themselves a fire station. I think for us, instead of even a fire station, we might want to consider a public safety building, like, you know, town office, fire department kind of thing. It would probably be wise, and probably, as long as I'm fire chief, never really gonna back off of that conversation. So we gotta figure it out. You know, I feel like sometimes I might be the only one working on it. So any ideas and stuff? I appreciate Joe the other day trying to get your friends set up with me on from Vermont, but you know, granting opportunities are just few and far between. It's something that we just need to figure out how we're going to accomplish financially. And I think a lot of the townspeople, believe it or not, are really on board with it. It seems the ones that are really loud are actually the minority that are against it. So, you know, something we need to kind of start considering. But it was good news to see that Sweden, in my eyes, it was good news to see that Sweden is ready to make that move, spend the money to do it, whether it be a bond or just generated via tax money for that year. Good news is, I was talking with Bob earlier this week, Cumberland County has given us an opportunity for our radio upgrades. At some meetings ago, I spoke about how our repeater is in pretty terrible disrepair, and you know, we're starting to end up hearing Lewiston and some other fire departments on the same frequency that we have, because our repeater cannot keep our band together due to the age of it. And you know, we did that great project bringing all the equipment down with ARPA money, and the county has kind of seen an opportunity that they want to join in on. So Jeff contacted me, Jeff Hartford, and said that we have a great negotiating point right now. So to kind of not get too technical and keep it short and sweet, if we buy new radio equipment, county is gonna, and we come to an agreement with the county, because we've come to kind of like a verbal agreement, it's gonna obviously have to probably go to David Lurie to be revised and talk with you guys as well to see what we want to do. The county wants to put equipment in the WMTW tower, their own equipment. They're gonna pay for the engineering studies to get it done, they're gonna pay for their own equipment, they're gonna pay for everything. The only thing is that in order for us to be in step with the county, we would have to upgrade our radio equipment, which with the age of our repeater, we need to do anyway. Except the catch, the good part is that they will, if we upgrade our equipment with them, they will take over the maintenance of that equipment forever, literally, indefinitely. So we would be then in the same service interval, right? Every time that they need to do equipment repair, we would essentially have to do equipment repair. Their financial burden is not ours. So it's a really great opportunity, but it's a large sum of money, just like everything else in the fire department and everything related to municipal infrastructure. So, you know, in our budget meeting, we'll talk about it, you know, how we can, you know, get funding. Looked into the Stephen and Tabitha King grant, which might pay for like half of it if we were able to get the maximum grant from them. So we'll see. But it's a really great opportunity. The county has been excellent. So RCM is the county's radio vendor representative. They are more than willing to come to a meeting here and do a very short and digestible layman's terms presentation on what they're technically trying to do. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd like to have them, they're more than happy to do it, just so you guys understand the details of what they want to do. I understand the details, but I'm not a radio professional. I just use radios a lot to get our job done. So I think it's a great opportunity, you know, to finally get rid of our maintenance burden that we constantly have with our own equipment, especially if the county.
Definitely, that can get expensive.
Yep. With that, the county, in the best interest, is, you know, moving to P25, which is a new type of, you know, analog protocol is what we use here, and they're trying to move to a digital analog mix. I did get the Baldwin Fire Department awarded $27,000 in radios, so we were successful on a grant that was part of a $1 million grant for the county-wide, all the fire stations. So all of the fire department handheld radios are going to be updated at no cost. Hopefully we'll be able to pick them up in the next couple of weeks. So it's a really, really good success with, you know, developing. Trying to think of what else. There was one other thing I really didn't tell you. Oh, if I had time to write an agenda today, so internet is installed at all 3 stations successfully. We have camera systems that right now, I can just go like this, and I'm watching East Baldwin Station right now. So, anybody wants to steal our generators, I can catch them in the middle of a selectmen's meeting. And, you know, it's really a great tool to have.
Yeah.
I feel, for the cost of all 3 stations yearly, plus the cost that, you know, for the camera subscriptions is less than the cost of all the stuff that we will have it for 3 years before we meet the amount of money that we lost in generators. So to me, that says that it's worth it.
So does that have some kind of alert, if somebody goes into the station and?
So it has motion alerts on it, and basically, we have some cameras outside and a couple cameras inside. I only have the motion alerts because it's on my phone. I mean, we can have it, I mean, you can even listen to it from the audio.
No, I just want to know.
Pocket trail.
If somebody broke in, you'd know about it then.
100%.
Yeah.
So I set the motion detectors personally so that it's only detecting motion on the inside cameras, because every time a freaking car goes by, my pocket trail, my phone rings.
Yeah.
And I've got to be enough pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, every interior camera in the fire stations have a motion alert. As of right now, the only one with the app on my phone. Steve Thorne will have access to it, so will Chris. You know, the officers in the fire department. I could try to get it to Howard, but Howard's never gonna use it, so no, he's not a technology guy. But yeah, so we're looking a lot better in terms of tightening up our security and making sure that nobody's defacing or destroying our departments, and if they are, they're getting caught. That's all I got.
It overwhelmingly looks like the West Baldwin station for solar energy is gonna be built this summer.
Oh, really?
So you may get some funding for that, because I believe it's earmarked for projects like the fire station.
Primarily,
Yeah.
it was justified,
Pardon me?
yeah, it was just, we put it in front of the town for a credit,
Yeah.
TIF,
Yeah.
and it was justified on building a new fire station.
Wonderful. We need it. We should probably do more. I'm about a fire station because I'm a fire chief, right? As a townsperson, I'd probably like to see a bit of a municipal complex. Personally, I think there's a lot of people that feel the same way. You know, it might tighten up some of our liability when we want to have a program for children here, because they won't be looking at building deficiencies if somebody does get hurt. I think looking into MMA, you know, having an insurance policy for stuff like that, it's good for kids to have a place to go, so that we don't have kids that grow up and cut down and shoot our son. Bring it to our fire department.
Well, those ones can read either way.
You know, the thought. So, I also do, appreciate, you know, we've had a good working relationship, you know, Don has some really good concerns, that I honestly don't know exactly how to visit, and I never really wanna overstep on what the planning board does, so I've had to work with Joe, and I have a great working relationship with Joe. Like, he needs me to come in and calm the townspeople down when they're yelling about, you know, boat storage facilities, but also that when I talk about, you know, there should be a cistern here, that maybe I should really be talking to the planning board instead of the select board. So,
You're right.
you know, we have I say this in emails and stuff all the time, I don't mean to be cheesy, I mean it, we have a good team right now. You know, we communicate well, and, you know, Baldwin has a lot of updating to do.
And that's what it's
A
about.
lot of updating to do.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting it done, it's just step by step, piece by piece. That's all I got.
Okay. Chad? You got anything?
Hey, I'm Zach, and, I don't have any, like, town business, but I did have a question that's more personal, but I thought maybe, like, the hive mind here might be able to help me.
It's question and comment time, so you're good.
Okay, well, then it has to do with my neighbors, I wanna be a good neighbor, and the previous owner of the house that I'm at had a dumpster that's, like, kinda in our shared roadway, and it's making, like, plowing difficult, and if any, like, emergency vehicles or anything had to come up, like, I'm afraid it would kind of, you know, be blocking the way. I've been dealing with Herrick, or trying to call Herrick Dumpsters to have them take it away since the beginning of December, and a couple times they're like, oh yeah, it's on the schedule, oh yeah, we'll have someone up there tomorrow, and it hasn't been taken away, and now they've just stopped responding to my
Where do you
calls.
Where's the dumpster?
I'm on Bishop Delightso, like.
Did you take over the house that had a little fire in it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think between me and Chris, we just drag it out of the way. We got a bunch of trucks.
Well, I was like, I don't know what, at this point, they're just not, like, responding to me anymore, and I don't know how I can.
I mean, you don't owe money for the dumpster, do you?
I don't, the previous owners may, but I mean, at this point, they're just leaving their stuff on, you know, on my land and in the road, essentially.
It's in the roadway, yeah, it's in the roadway, Chris can go up and
Drag it out?
drag it out.
Well, it's not a public road up there.
It is, no, it's
It's
private.
a private
Oh,
road,
private,
and
private road.
it's 15 feet wide,
Right.
what it's worth.
Oh, yeah.
It's a discussion we've had a couple of
And
times.
I'm just
If
wondering.
dumpster or not, it's very difficult to get an
How
emergency.
easy it is
I
to
put
get
that
here
fire
to
out,
get the truck in
personally,
and out.
so, it was, it can be a little tough. I mean, as long as you're okay with us using town equipment to do something like that, I'd be happy to do it.
If you want to just move it out of the way, yeah.
We'll either take the squad truck, or I'll ask Chris to do it, 'cause squad truck's going for sale eventually anyway, so.
Is there a place to put it?
I mean, it could be pushed off to the road a little more, but, and really, like, you can get by it, but if we get any more snow, or, you know, I'm just thinking of, it's not a great place. I don't know, I didn't know if there was a way to turn the screws with Herrick at all. I'm like, I can keep bugging them every day until it's gone, but they're gonna block my number or something.
Well, if you wanna call them up, tell them, well, if you don't move it, the town's going to, and they may not like where we put it.
Sure, yeah, I'll use that
Yeah.
to see if it lights a little fire.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I would suspect that they have reason for not coming out. I personally have worked with Herrick a lot,
Okay.
and they're very responsive, so there's got to be some.
And they were at
Right,
first,
so
you know.
there's got to be some issues as to why they're not comfortable, whether it be the width of the road, or the time of year, or past built, I don't know, I can't speak for them, but I just say that I can speak to their professionalism and response, you know, as a business, they're really pretty good typically, so I don't know what the story is there, but, yeah, I don't know.
Probably the time of year, 'cause it's pretty.
Well, they've come and unloaded it in the time that I've been speaking to them, so they have no problem getting up there.
So who hired it?
The previous owners hired it.
Of your house?
Of my house, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and they are gone, yeah, I'm having issues with a couple of things that they've like not ended services on, and.
How big is it? Is it a big one or just a?
Yeah, the yard
It's not huge, I mean, it's like a shop, it's, you know, like, I would say it's like a normal size dumpster.
Not a
Square,
construction
it's not-
dumpster, right?
It's not long, no, it's just like a little square.
Does it roll on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a roll-off, but one of the ones that they pick up with the arms.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a 2 arm.
And roll-off might be hard to get.
I was wondering if you could nudge it with a snowplow on the front of your truck or something.
Yeah.
But it's still on your property, though, that's what you're trying to do, is get it off your property, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I just
Yeah.
wanted it to be gone, I mean, when I got there, it was full of their garbage, so and now people are just throwing garbage in there because it's sitting there, so.
You got the neighborhood garbage over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would ask Eric as to why they're not coming up, and
Seemed to have cost them money for it to sit there, right?
Well, I guess, I mean, they were really responsive at first, and then now they kind of disappeared, and.
it's a matter of getting out, just drag it down to,
Give me some info here, we'll see if we can.
Okay, thanks, yeah.
Just give it a try.
Sure, thanks a lot.
Public hearing? Bob hearing?
No.
Yeah? Okay. Well, I move the select board go into executive session pursuant one MSRA 405(6)A to discuss personnel matters.
say,
All in favor? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are they replacing the generators?
I'm working on MMA, I just have to wait to get the insurance rate for it. I don't know,
Okay,
my budget to buy it.
They didn't.